Was there a need to have another cabinet reshuffle in a space of 7 months? Did President Jacob Zuma axe Nzimande in order to silence the Communist Party? What is the Communist Party's position on its members still serving in President Zuma's cabinet? And is this likely to be President Zuma's last cabinet reshuffle before he quits office? What time is it? It's question time. And welcome to the show. My name is Mpotsedu. Today's cabinet reshuffle by President Jacob Zuma continues to dominate news headlines. Be that as it may, it is the axing of Higher Education Minister Nzimande that has caused a political storm. The South African Communist Party came out guns blazing, saying this action puts the tripartite alliance at a crossroads. The Communist Party has been among those calling on President Zuma to step down. The rationale behind the reshuffle is under scrutiny, given that some of the ministers appointed in March have been moved to other departments. While it is the prerogative of the president to hire and fire ministers and deputies, whether he is obliged to consult the ANC about a reshuffle remains a bone of contention. The rand, in fact, dropped to 13 rands 38 to the US dollar just after the news broke out. Question Time invited Luthuli House, but neither SG Gwede Mantashe, DSG Jesse Duarte, nor Zizi Kodwa were available, citing prior commitments. We are live, and therefore you can call us and hear your views. The numbers to dial 089-110-4210. Internationally, +2789 110-4210. Our Twitter handle at Question Time 24. My guest today is Solima Paila. He's the first secretary, or general secretary rather, of the South African Communist Party. And before we get into the discussion, let's take a look at this clip.
When there is a quick turnover of leadership in any institution, if you have a minister who was appointed in the last reshuffle, was it in March? April, you see, and that 3 of those ministers are moved around in October. And that is a formula for instability, and therefore it can't be the correct, sustainable way of dealing with that issue.
Okay, that was the SG of the ANC speaking earlier at an ANC briefing at Luthuli House. And I'm now joined by the SG, or rather the first Deputy General Secretary of the Communist Party. That's Solima Paila. But we want to give you this opportunity as our viewers to talk to him as much as you want to. So please start dialing the numbers that we have given you. The number will be on your screen right now, 089-110-4210. Please give us your questions, more questions than comments. In fact, that's what we would appreciate. Soli, thank you very much. We never thought we would require to talk to you so soon. Yeah. And the Communist Party is very clear. You're saying this is no reshuffle. This is just a process or a procedure to get rid of Nzimande.
Yeah, quite clearly, President Zuma has demonstrated his inability for strategic thinking. He thought he could fool us. It was just a decoy of a sense of cabinet reshuffle. As you know, the only person that left cabinet is Comrade Blade. And in fact, the critical thing for us is that this has nothing to do with strengthening state capacity to fulfill its mandate, but it's clearly calculated to strengthen President Zuma's capacity towards completing his agenda to capture our state and state institutions. And that's why this cabinet reshuffle can actually be demonstrable that it is absolutely having no regard or consideration even for alliance relations, for deepening our revolution, but it's much about protecting himself from criticism of those that have fought openly, including Comrade Blade, who has confronted him on many occasions. I'm not in cabinet, but I've seen it in the alliance meetings where he have told him openly, comradely, that what we are doing is not good, particularly corruption, misgovernance, corporate capture of the state, and that the president, all of this is happening under his watch.
Were you consulted or were you informed of this reshuffle?
We were not consulted. We were just informed when he was informing Comrade Blade, when this matter was already in the media. And this actually, it's quite serious for us because only when it was now circulating in the media, we were receiving media calls. One call arrived, and that's when he managed to communicate that to Comrade Blade. Again, a demonstration of his lack of consideration for alliance and alliance relations and how we function as a movement.
How do you function?
There's consultation, substantive consultation, not just information.
So in what way? I want you to just give us a scenario. The ANC wins elections and you know that the president has to announce a cabinet. What happens in those processes?
Well, ideally, firstly, constitutionally has the mandate to fulfill that obligation, which is a privilege from the movement for him to lead the country. Once we have won the elections, which we do organizational, there's no presidential elections in this country. Organization contest elections. And after that, we contest through the ANC as part of the ANC. After that, we have accepted generally in the alliance that the president of the ANC will lead the alliance into as a presidential candidate. When we fulfill that particular process, we understand that the prerogative mandate is not a personal mandate of the president. And this one had even sold away this particular mandate, let alone the fact that we can debate that it's not even personal, but he has given it away. It's exercised by other people outside him. It's just an instrument that actually fulfills it through the state system. So we consult substantively inside the movement, but allow the president to set up the cabinet. And for instance, the Communist Party took a decision to release Comrade Blade to government. Yeah. And we engaged the ANC, including him as president, on this matter, that we are releasing our general secretary.
It took a resolution of conference in Polokwane, actually.
No, not necessarily. It was a decision of the Central Committee that went on and engaged with, I was in that delegation actually, to engage with him to say, we're releasing our general secretary to government, and therefore he's the leading party cadre amongst party cadres that are there. And when you take a decision of this nature without considering the views of the Communist Party, you are literally and clearly declaring war on the SACP. And we certainly cannot take it lying down.
How many deployees do you have in cabinet?
We don't necessarily count that necessarily. We don't. Normally what we will count is the officials of the party, which are 3 members, well now 2. 2, yes. And our Comrade Jeremy used to be there as well in the officials, but is no longer in the officials. But it's practically, we have 3 members in, 2 members now in cabinet. Okay.
So one of the questions that have been coming up is, what is the Communist Party doing now in this cabinet? Why don't you withdraw your deployees?
Precisely because President Zuma never ran a presidential election. It is not necessarily in a mechanical way his cabinet. It's a cabinet of the movement. And therefore, decisions must be through the African National Congress. And in this case, we have just heard the Secretary General of the ANC. I listened to him commenting on radio as well. He's disgusted by this. Now, that was a very, very serious point. How can a president of a party disregard his party all the time? There were serious problems in the March reshuffle when he removed Comrade Pravin Gordhan and we complained to him, and the ANC said they will rectify this thing. We know it's not possible because they've allowed President Zuma to effectively become a runaway president. He is not controlled by the ANC. It's an illusion to even think that he listens to the ANC. He actually lies to the nation, lies to the ANC general membership that he listens to them. Actually, he uses the ANC to protect himself to be in this particular position. But all the time, he does things in his own way, and the ANC can't correct him, and that's where the major problem is. But we hope that the December conference of the ANC will have to reflect deeply on this thing. lest the ANC loses the faith of South African people for its capacity to continue to lead, to be given this mandate to continue to lead South Africa, which is an extremely important mandate given the program that we have to change the lives of our people.
Now, what is the Communist Party still doing? This is another question people are asking. What are you still doing in the alliance then? Why don't you just say, you know what, this is it, we have had it, let's go?
There are wider implications for this. It's not an easy thing for us because there will be huge impact on the program that we are running as a government led by the ANC to transform the lives of our people. We have summarized that, for instance, to mean ending poverty, ending inequalities, whether it's gender inequality, racial inequality, class inequality. That's part of what the mission of the National Democratic Revolution is about, which is our program. And therefore, in simpler terms, to deal with unemployment, to deal with poverty, it's part and parcel of this bigger problem. And we have now highlighted other issues in this process, fighting corruption, for instance, as one of them, including fighting state capture. Because if you donate your state to individuals, you would have no capacity to drive transformational agenda. And this is what President Zuma is trying to do.
Let's go to KZN. Muzi, welcome.
Oh, uyaphila baba?
Ngiyaphila njani lapho?
Asiphili bese baba ile uyaphila.
Ngiyaphila baba, thank you very much, Muzi.
Yes, Mpho, few points which I want to raise.
Yes.
Let me firstly try and put a point of correction to Mr. Mapai. One, he must stop insulting the intelligence of our voters of this country. That's number one. Two, the SG of the ANC is not the ANC. The ANC is formed by several structures from the NEC, PEC, REC, and branches. So if the SG is disgusted, including the SACP, those people don't form the ANC. They are part and parcel of the ANC. But my point is, President Nzimande has failed to run his department. Youth development has been failed by him. Industrialization has been failed by him. Training and development in rural areas. As a person who's coming from Pietermaritzburg, in a village of Pietermaritzburg, he has failed even to uplift the very same people in Pietermaritzburg where I'm situated. Okay. So SACP must stop insulting our intelligence and going to the media and canvassing for the CR, because you know that they are canvassing for the CR.
Now,
trying to fight. Yes, sir.
So I would imagine that you obviously support the axing of President Nzimande on the basis that he has failed.
Yes.
Is he the only one who has failed in cabinet?
So far, in terms of youth development, rural development, industrialization, and training, President Nzimande has failed the youth of this country. Worst out of all, he has even failed his boss. I'll use this word boss, because in any company there is a CEO, there is a manager. He has failed to respect the president of the ANC, the president of the country.
But there are many other ministers who have failed in their departments and they have survived. I can give you
other ministers have failed, such as like Motsoaledi, who has allowed situation as a demand whereby 100 and something people has passed away.
But Tabile Dlamini
has not failed because they wanted her to fail. They thought the SASA issue will collapse his department. But it didn't, because Faith Mutambi didn't fail. Faith Mutambi, the only thing, there were challenges at the SABC. Those challenges were rectified. Today we are having a board. So what's the problem about that? Faith Mutambi actually has been redeployed to another department. Where's the problem then? If President Nzimande has failed, let us allow restructuring within our organization. Let us allow restructuring within our movement. Let us allow restructuring within the administration, the government administration.
Muzi, thank you, Muzi. Thank you very much. Think you've made your point. Let me allow Solu to respond.
Of course, this is a complete fabrication. I think Comrade Blade has led huge transformation of the higher education and training landscape. And we want to thank him for his contribution in this regard. And I think it's quite clear that from Muzi's call, he's only thinking that challenges affect those that he likes. that the higher education, for instance, would have no challenges. For instance, the primary thing there, apart from the agenda that he has put on the table, which is quite a very good program, was the fact that government was not having resources. And it's not the treasury nor government. And we have placed this matter, we have debated this matter on several occasions. In fact, President Zuma had literally betrayed his own minister in this regard. And at an appropriate time, we'll go into details about this thing. I hope that Comrade Blade himself will be able at an appropriate time to raise the point. For instance, we have raised these questions with the ANC. When he convened the meeting in Tshwane of students and institutions, that week we've had a discussion, or in fact the day before, of the alliance. And later on, we expressed our dissatisfaction with the manner in which he handled that question, including the appointment of the Fees Commission, including its report. So it will not actually, we knew that ultimately, when the ANC has taken a decision that there must be free higher education and training program from next year, he will not have allowed Blade Nzimande to be minister in this regard. He wants to take the glory of this thing, create it as if it is his own implementation of a program, when actually the difficulties in that sector, he was not there. But I can tell you, many will miss Comrade Blade in this sector. I give you 3 years. We will feel his absence. It doesn't mean that many other ministers can't do well, but he had massive contribution to make, which he did in this regard.
How did he take this?
Well, he was quite humble about it. Obviously, I understand. I mean, he actually was calm about it. Of course, to the extent that it undermines the Communist Party, the thing that actually worried him, and to the extent that it was done uncomradely, is a thing that worried him. But otherwise, he take it as a gentleman, as a comrade, cordially. He understand that he was not.
Well, yes, said
yeah, that's for sure. But the manner in which it is done, it is important. Also, this impression that because we are part and parcel of the alliance, we can't criticize the president is wrong. In the movement, we criticize each other robustly, comradely, and constructively. And this is exactly what Comrade Blade was doing. When it comes to any possibility of any government department or even the president to sell this country, the Communist Party will stand up. And we are glad that Comrade Blade, for us, he gets the badge of honor for defending his country, for fighting against corruption, including when he knew he will lose any of the privileges that are associated with being deployed in that regard, because those don't matter. What matters is serving our people and our country. And that's what he has demonstrated. And we want to thank him for that.
Temba, you are in the Eastern Cape. Welcome.
Thanks, Mpo. Mpo, let's do this. Let's tell the motormouth next to you, the comrade, that the war was declared when Blade encouraged COSATU to dismiss NUMSA. 340,000. The only thing that NUMSA was said to have done was to point to the trajectory that the ANC has taken with respect to the abandoning of the programs that are to take care of the poorest of the poor. They should now go back and apologize to NUMSA and say what you saw before we saw it was correct. Blade has invited for this. Recently he spoke in Durban. He said he doesn't care. He can be fired.
Yes.
War cannot be declared because the membership in the revolutionary movement is not defined by deployment.
Yes.
Deployment comes and goes, but the revolutionary continues. So these comrades, they messed it up in 2007. They thought they have hijacked the ANC. The only thing that they are fighting now, if Zuma can wake up tomorrow and say, guys, I submit to you, Communist Party, you will see. There is no program, poor program that they have put on the table for the cabinet to pursue. They must tell us what contribution they had made in the manifesto. What contribution are they making in programs that government is pursuing now? What is not going to be done tomorrow?
Okay. Temba, thank you very much, Temba, there in East London. Let me allow you to respond.
Well, of course, I think, firstly, he has raised other issues that we can debate at some point, but maybe let me focus on the contribution we continue to make, whether we are in government or not. we led a campaign for the establishment of what we call the National Health Insurance, which is an important intervention in health.
Yeah.
We campaigned for this before the ANC even adopted this particular program. We led many other big campaigns, transformation of the financial sector. Before it was fashionable, when it affected the Guptas, the Gupta banks, were in the front line fighting against monopoly capital, which is largely financialized in this country, to fight against their programs, whether it's a creation of credit bureaus that prohibited the majority of South Africans, black people in particular, to have access to loan and credits in order to fulfill their lives and so forth, and many other programs that we've been backing on. So it has nothing to do with whether we're deployed or not.
David, you are in Witbank. Welcome.
Hey, how are you, my brother?
I'm well. Thanks for the call.
Thank you. I just want to put a comment here.
Okay.
Concerning the issue of Comrade Blade to be removed by the President Jacob Zuma, honestly, from my side, I want to give Comrade Zuma a hands of applause.
Okay.
Comrade Blade, the time when we were busy campaigning, working hard to remove Zuma, Comrade Blade was one of the people who were telling the whole South Africa that SACP is not going to be voting against the ANC. Because during the day of the vote, it was clear to us that the ANC called everyone and transformed them with immediate effect to say, if you vote against Comrade Zuma, you'll be voting against the ANC. Now, Comrade Zuma decided that he is not going to work with cowards. He must remove them and put new people so that they can learn. They must not be controlled by the issues that the opposition party they don't have the right in this country.
Okay.
It was easy for them. If they allowed and supported us during that day to remove Comrade Zuma,
who is we?
It's not going to happen.
David?
Now I'm just want to say well done to Comrade Zuma. And the comrade there, they can make noise. They know they fail us as
David,
people of this country.
David?
Yes.
I want to understand something. You keep on saying we wanted, when we were campaigning, they have failed us. Who is we?
I just want to be honest with you too. I'm not a member of ANC.
Okay.
But us as the South Africans, definitely sure, we're waiting, very strongly waiting to hear the news that Zuma is out.
Oh,
and
okay.
Some of the members, they didn't vote against Zuma. Now today when Zuma takes the decision, it's becoming bad. No, let's support the president. This thing used to happen. People used to be in the parliament. People used to be removed.
Okay.
What is the problem with Comrade Blade?
All right. David, I've heard you.
You heard me now?
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, I think it's more of a comment. But for how long, really, I must ask this question once more. For how long are you going to stay in this abusive marriage? Because you're like an abused partner here. You know, whether husband or wife, I don't know. But you are like an abused partner who keeps on saying, no, you know, it will be okay.
What is at stake is the capacity for the ANC to lead the transformation agenda to change the lives of our people. And that's what we can't gamble with. That's what we've been preoccupying ourselves with, so that we are able, in whatever we do, that we don't compromise that part.
Can this ANC achieve that?
That's why we are now calling for a reconfiguration process of alliance relations, so that the manner in which we operate, there are limitations that we can give to each other. Unlike what is happening now, we've given too much blank check, for instance, to the ANC and to the sitting president of the ANC, on the understanding that this will be an honest comrade. I mean, we've had Tambos, Mandelas, and so forth, even Becky, but we've given too much respect to this particular field, and he has abused that particular space. So that is why we have to reconfigure the alliance, so that even in future, we can know that we can actually have a president that may disregard his own organization and his own party based on the strength of patronage that he controls. And this is what Zuma has done.
Do you think the problems or the challenges that you have identified can only be attributed to Jacob Zuma only?
Not only, but is the engine of this problem.
Who else must go with him?
Of course, the group of people that he has sent the emails, for instance, that exposed the Gupta's system of stealing from public resources, does indicate majority of those that should go with him who
give
are
me 5
involved,
cabinet ministers whom you would love to see gone tomorrow.
Well, of course, I don't have to make that particular choice, but South Africa can make that particular choice. They know many of those corrupt ministers or ministers that have got tax of corruption, that have done so badly to protect their personal interests without saving the interests of the people of South Africa.
So, Mapai, thank you very much. We'll keep on watching the story and the developments. That was question time for today. A big thank you to my guests and to you for watching the show. From me and the entire crew, have yourself a wonderful time. Hi, Bechot.